some of the top stories in the NFL right now. There isn't a lot going on if you haven't noticed. And I shape a lot of what I decide to talk about based upon questions I get. And of course, I get a bunch of questions about Deshaun Watson. What is going on? Well, nothing right now, because the league and the union are putting together paperwork that's going to be submitted by next Monday, July the 11th, and both sides will presumably submit their paperwork simultaneously, so the other side doesn't get a chance to react to what the other side had to say. That's when the clock ticks on Judge Robinson to come up with a decision. I still think it's going to take 2 weeks. Anything less than a week or so makes it look like she rushed it. I think 2 weeks makes sense. July 25 is when I'm really going to start paying attention, with the possibility of July 22, that Friday beforehand. But just about the time we come back on PFT Live, Peacock, Sirius XM 85, et cetera, that may be when the window opens for a decision with Deshaun Watson. There's been a lot of talk about settlement, too. I wrote about this late last night / early this morning. And I think it does make sense. It always makes sense for two sides that are in any type of a legal proceeding to come to a decision if they can. It's better to engineer the outcome and have both sides a little bit upset than roll the dice and ensure that one side is going to be really upset and the other side is going to be really happy. It's just part of managing the outcome and coming up with something that works for everyone. In theory, that makes sense. Here's the problem. Fundamental challenge for the NFL. It cannot afford to be perceived as being lenient in any way on Deshaun Watson. And when the league is repeatedly making it known that it's seeking a minimum suspension of 1 year for Deshaun Watson, how do you back off on that without appearing weak, without appearing ineffective, without appearing too lenient with someone who the league believes did enough to justify a full-year suspension? Why are you giving up now? Why are you folding tents and accepting a 6 or an 8 game suspension? That, to me, is difficult to accomplish until Judge Robinson issues a decision, because her decision, in a certain way, sanitizes the league's position on this, because she's the one, true outsider, who comes to the conclusion as to what happened here. That's why I've said time and again, it's critical that whatever she puts on paper makes sense, is understandable, no jargon, legalese, mumbo jumbo, something that is simple, that people will say, okay, I get it. I may not agree with her outcome, but I understand how she got from the entry to the maze to the exit of the maze. And by doing that, it makes it easier for the NFL to say, for example, okay, she suspends him, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, 4 games. She suspends him 4 games. Then the league, since it has the hammer on appeal, and the commissioner can, in theory, the way the CBA is written, the way the personal conduct policy has been revised in 2020, he can take that 4 and turn it into 17 if he wants to. That's when I think a negotiated outcome becomes more practical, it becomes more likely, it becomes more feasible, because that's when the league can say, look, she set the floor and we know what the ceiling is. We'll just try to reach something in between. And I still think back to that idea that kind of popped up a week or two ago of treating 2021 like an unpaid suspension after the fact. You'd have to give up the $10 million he made in salary last year for not playing. And I understand that we're at an age where people just lock into a position and just shout it regardless of reality, regardless of whether it makes sense. And I'll hear all the time, oh, he chose not to play. He wasn't on paid leave. Look, let's take a step back. Let's all take a step back and ask ourselves, without this off-field issue in 2021, 22 lawsuits at the time, 10 criminal complaints, without those entanglements, he plays last year, doesn't he? He gets traded last year. The Texans don't dig in and wait as the season unfolds. They get a deal done. Somebody would have wanted him. Somebody would have said, let's go do this. The trade would have happened. He would have been a Dolphin without the off-field issues. period. By the trade deadline, he would have been a Dolphin, so he would have played last year. So, and I know that, look, like with any other issue that we deal with in these times, there are two sides with a huge gap in the middle, and it's very difficult to find middle ground. There are the people who say he shouldn't be suspended at all, he didn't do anything, there's no proof. And then there's people who say suspend him for life or at least a full season. So the NFL has to make its decisions in light of the fact that you've got these two polar extremes. And I think waiting for Judge Robinson to make her decision makes it easier for the NFL to then try to settle it. But remember, the NFL's got the hammer at that point. As long as she imposes any discipline on him whatsoever, the NFL has the hammer. The commissioner on appeal can enhance it to whatever he wants. He's only limited by her factual findings. He would have to take her factual findings and say, okay, I accept these. I have no choice but to accept them. But I think under these facts, the way the personal conduct policy applies to these facts, the punishment should be much more than what someone who was a federal judge for 25 years had concluded. But he still has the power to do it. And in theory, there's nothing the union can do after that under the CBA. I know they can go to court, but again, judges don't like to get involved when private parties have put together a comprehensive system for resolving their differences. So we continue to wait. We continue to watch. A settlement could happen at any time. I just think it would be a very tough sell for the league to explain to people why, after insisting on a minimum suspension of 1 year, the league decided, okay, we'll do 6 games, 4 games, 8 games, whatever. It's going to be tough to do. Even if you make 2021 a de facto after the fact suspension, it's going to be tough to do. And from Watson's perspective, somebody pointed this out to me today. Hey, there's going to be all sorts of awkward and embarrassing facts that come out if Judge Robinson issues a written decision. How is it any worse than what's already come out? Like, I don't think from Watson's perspective, part of the leverage is against him. Oh, hey, if you don't settle this, there's going to be a lot of stuff. They're going to say a lot of stuff. They already are saying a lot of stuff about him. How worse can it get? So I think that the league knows it has to wait. And the risk the league takes is that Judge Robinson will impose no discipline whatsoever. And then that slams the door on anything that the league could do on appeal. And he's back week 1. Although we've talked about it before. I don't want to spend too much time or much more time than I already have on this. I think it's tough to get no discipline at all, but we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a fascinating read. I assume, since it doesn't involve an owner, there will be full transparency. Since it involves a player, the league will release the full document for all to observe.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.